lounging, son.
Welcome back to the Comic Lounge. My name is Ryan, and with me today, I have Michael Fitzgerald Troy with me, another fellow YouTuber, fellow kayfaber. Super stoked to have you on the channel. We're going to talk a little bit about yourself and then about a Kickstarter that has already been fully backed as of the time we're recording. So very stoked to get into comics with you, man.
Me too. It is so nice to finally meet you in person after watching so many great episodes of your show. I'm excited to be in the hot seat. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, dude, it's my pleasure. I told you before we recorded, I checked out your stuff as well. I mean, it's awesome that we live in a time where there's so much awesome comic book content being put out on YouTube. It doesn't need to be the speculator episodes. It doesn't need to be the negative, like why I hate something episode. Like, I think you and I both do a very similar thing where we share about what we love about comics. Comes across in everything you do, whether you're recording a video or whether you're making a post on Facebook. I think your passion, love for the medium pours out of you, and I think it's just awesome that we could kind of collaborate on a video today. So I'm very excited.
Well, thank you for saying that. I do try to keep it positive. I realize that we could probably both benefit from subscribers and views by putting a negative spin, but it's just not going to happen. I love comics. I love to celebrate them. As a matter of fact, I was going to review a comic book a couple of weeks ago, and I just couldn't think of anything good to say about it. So I just didn't even review it.
That's so funny, yeah.
I would just rather not bring negative attention to it. You know what I mean? Yeah. So yeah, you got to keep it on the positive. I know it's I'm so sick of these death of Marvel and DC videos predicting the death of comics. Comics are not going anywhere, even if they keep doing them through Kickstarters. Me and all our circle of people, so many great Kickstarters have just been completed. Congratulations to Peter Hansel and Dr. Ben. I forget the name of their book, but something City Suspense and Ghost Agents just completed their last Kickstarter right before we rolled out ours. Who else? Somebody else just did one. Oh, Evan Quiring, who's on our book, did a great badge story. He just did his Murder City Devil Kickstarter, just got funded. And yes, we just got funded, and we're actually a grand over. As of this recording, we have 9 days left, and I'm going to continue to try to set the internet on fire with it. And there's so many great add-ons coming daily and just so many reasons to get on board, but I guess I'm getting ahead of myself.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's such a great project, and we'll get into it. But I have to mention before we talk about it, I love that you said that you were going to record a video. I just have to call that out, and you didn't, because I can't tell you how many times I've done the same thing where I'm because the way I go about it is sometimes I look weeks ahead, but usually I'll look, okay, my shop will put the Thursday before new comics. That's how I'll pick what books I want to talk about if I'm going to talk about new books. So many times, even with Manny, because Manny and I were doing weekly picks for a little bit, and then I kind of broke away from that. I'm I'd rather focus on single issues. And there was one time where we both picked a book we were going to talk about together, and I'm I don't know that I have much to say about the book. I was trying to be nice, even when I was talking to him privately, and he's yeah. I'm okay, good. Because I don't want to force it, and I don't want to say anything bad about. I just don't want to waste time. I don't want to waste energy, because there is so much wasted energy, in my opinion. And I feel people are doing it. It's called clickbait for a reason. It's baiting you to click that video, and I'd rather just put out stuff that turn people on to stuff that you love, because that comes across more when you're talking about something that you love, and you can hear the excitement in your voice. I can hear it in yours when you're talking. You're not even on camera when you're flipping through books, but I can hear it, and I can tell, I can picture what your face looks like, and the joy that you get talking from a book. And I think that is what we need more of in the world. I want that to lead into let's talk a little bit about yourself, how you got into comic books, why you love comic books, why you turned that into, why you got into comic books as a kid. How did that start, the love?
Okay. So I just love comic books. It's always been about the art for me. My brother introduced me to comics. There was a girl down the street who used to sell comics for 2 and 3 cents to him. And I just fell in love with the artwork. I was probably 3-4 years old at the most. And they taught me how to read. They taught me how to draw. It's funny. I distinctly remember, I feel like this is my first foray into drawing comic books. there was this like old Spider-Woman comic book where she had the skull cap and her hair was like inside her thing. And that did not sit well with me. So I took an ink pen and drew hair like on her in the comic book. And my brother was an artist as well, and we just used to draw together and make up our own comic books. And I just voraciously love comic books. It's funny because I say they taught me how to read, and but I hated reading the captions, so I would only read the dialogue and the balloons.
I've done
And
that
I don't,
too.
I don't know if that speaks to my ADD or laziness or what, but I read the captions now, just so you know. Yeah, it's funny because I just, I feel like comics have always been there for me. And so I will always be there for them. Like we talked during the pandemic, I started doing my show, influenced by the cartoonist kayfabe guys. I can't lie. Obviously, if you look at my show, it's, follows their model a lot, but it just got me excited about comic books again. I was unemployed and down in the dumps, and comics have always been there, but I probably didn't collect monthly for a long time. You know what I mean? I've spent more time in the comic book store in the last 2 years after like, I don't know, 10 years or something like that. I just always drew. And, when I was 12 years old, I made my first comic book that I actually sold at a local comic book store in Las Vegas when we lived there for a while as a kid. It was called Page After Page. Thank you for carrying my book. It's still there today. It's a very famous comic book store. It was a horrible, horrible comic book. It was god awful. My brother found one like a couple of years ago and sent me like pictures of it. And I just like so cringe. Like, but I'm one of those artists who cringe at all of my art. Like I cringe at everything I ever draw. So
Don't most
um
artists do that though? I feel like most
I
artists have
know,
that same story, you know?
I know if I ever talk to an artist and they're like, man, I really love what I just drew, then I'd be like, raise an eyebrow. I'm like,
Same.
wow, how did you do that? Like, how did you find that marriage of love and passion with your art? Let's see. So what else? So when I moved to LA in the early 2000s, I came here to be an actor. So it's like I've had two like impossible dreams I've been balancing my whole life, wanting to act and wanting to be a comic book artist. So I don't know why I didn't throw astronaut in there as well, but you know, so I came here and actually it was so like I love fate because I was at my friend's birthday party and I recognized this woman as Renee Geerlings from Top Cow Productions. From a picture, like in one of their letter columns, and I was like, I told my friend, I'm like, oh my gosh, I know who she is. I guess word travels fast because like 10 minutes later, she came over to me and she's like, I hear you know who I am. And I was like, I do. And so she actually, we became friends. And then I went to the Top Cow offices, showed her some of my art. Apparently, it wasn't good enough, but it was good enough to get me an inking assistant job with Bad. So I did that for a little while. And then I published my own comic book called The Blonde Squad. I published my own comic book called Going Gaga. It was a tribute to Lady Gaga,
I've seen that, yeah.
which she actually tweeted about after Comic Con. So that made my whole life. People always ask when I tell that story if she ever got a copy, and I'd like to believe so. I would like to think yes, but it's not like she called me up and said, "Hey, great job, want to go to lunch or something." So I'll never know for sure. Unless you're watching Gaga, please could you just finally, confirm the mystery whether you got a copy of Going Gaga or not? I think I want to do like a new version, like an anniversary version, like Going Gaga 2.0. Let's see what else. So then I wrote for Blue Water Productions for a while. I wrote like several what do you call it? They called them biography comic books, but they were more like, I don't know, the Cliff's Notes biography, like not like my
Interesting.
finest work, but one of my proudest moments, oddly, was writing and drawing a Honey Boo Boo comic book that was actually featured in the National Enquirer. So, I've had some fun
Crazy.
blips in my career. I know, weird. I did stand-up comedy for a long time. I've done different web shows and throwing pasta to the wall throughout my life and seeing what sticks. And it seems to all be sliding down. But, here we are. So I don't know. I've been all over
Hey,
the place.
hey, that's what it's about, man. You go after what you love. And I think that you only get one life, you know what I mean? Like, and why not live it up to your fullest, almost not potential, but like just go after what you want, like that's why I do the channel. I mean, like, I don't know about you, but I don't make money off the channel. Like, I only do it because I love talking about comic books, and like eventually that, it'll lead you to different places. I mean, look where it's leading you. Like, I don't know about you, but like the group of friends that I've made from this group is like, I mean, I talk to them more than I talk to people that are like that live like 10 minutes from me. So I think it's just been such a these past couple of years have been amazing in terms of like the connections I've built. And I don't know if that's the same for you. I know like you and Sam J. Royale, like I know you guys have like an awesome friendship, and I've watched that kind of blossom. So that's been kind of cool to watch as well.
We do. I love Sam J. I love his work. I started as a fan. I think I first saw his work on the cover of the Weapon X,
Yes.
Weapon X fan made project that
Mhm.
you know the kayfabe community did, and I just loved his art. So I just started following him because of his art, and then I think that's a good way to start a friendship with somebody is to be very complimentary of their art, and.
Yeah.
But then he's just like so fascinating to talk to because he just uses so many different media, and he's just really learned about art. And I like to be an art nerd and talk to people about craft and our favorite letterers and different logos and just like you know Adam Hughes sketches and just like whatever. Barry Tan is another one. I could talk endlessly too about art. He's amazing. They're both on this project. That's the like there is a very good communal kind of feeling. You know what I mean? It's not all daisies and cartwheels, but for the most part, like there's a lot of support and there's a lot of different like cross paths of so many people doing so many great things, like Tony McMillan. He's one of my favorite artists. I haven't actually, I mean, I sort of peripherally talk to him. We talk a little bit, but I'd love to talk to him more because he's just so fascinating and one of my favorite artists. And he's on this book. And he did like this great Friday the 13th
Bootleg. Yeah.
bootleg, and I shamelessly asked him to contribute a pinup and he let me, and I'm so like happy to be part of that. So I love little things like that, like little aspects. A lot of the guys on our book, I've collected their books or supported their campaigns and really love their work, and that's obviously why I went after them. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's just really fun to have people to talk to about the passion that you love. Yeah,
For
you're
sure.
right though. It's funny, like I have no one in my actual like real day-to-day life that I talk to.
Yeah, it's just crazy because like I don't know about you, but growing up, like I didn't have a bunch of friends that like comic books. I don't think I had one friend that liked comic books when I was young. So like now to have, and obviously like comic books are like, I don't want to say more accepted, but I mean they kind of are. Like, I mean they're more in the mainstream than ever because of the films. But it's just crazy to see the difference of like when I was a kid to like now, where it's like I can look through my friends list and it's like comic book. Like everybody loves comic books on that list, so it's pretty cool to see.
Yeah, when I was, growing up, I feel like I was more of a closet comic book nerd because it wasn't cool. You would definitely be made fun of for being a
Mhm.
comic book nerd. Although I say that, but I still wore comic book shirts because I loved it and I just couldn't help it. And they were going to make fun of me anyway, so I might as well, just enjoy my t-shirts.
Yeah. So let's talk about the project. You, like myself, have interviewed Gary Carlson, who they call the grandfather of Image Comics. Basically, Rob Liefeld coined him with that term. What a great guy.
Totally.
One of my favorite guys that I've interviewed. Like it was just I interviewed him because like I had read some of his stuff and I was a fan, but like I became a huge fan afterwards. But I didn't go as far as you did. You really love Gary Carlson, and then you're like, you know what? I got to celebrate this dude's work. So let's talk about, going from interviewing him, talking about the comics and stuff he's done, and then transferring that into basically a love letter to his entire imprint.
I will happily tell the story because I do love Gary, who Casey Bouchard, another artist about on the book, who's amazing, coined Gary Gare Bear. And it's like the perfect nickname for him. I couldn't help but tell Gary, and he said that it's something he's been referred to in his life before. So I think Casey and I are the only ones who call him that, but it's very fitting. He is just like a big teddy bear. He's like the nicest guy on the planet. He is so just like generous with his time and his opinion. He's been doing Big Bang and Megaton for 40 years plus with his partner, Chris Ecker, and they have this great catalog of comics. I always say like Big Bang Comics is sort of like the best kept secret because either people are huge fans or they've sort of heard of it, or you can give them like 3 words to make them be like, oh yeah, I know what that is. So talk about the kayfabe community and the fan projects and stuff. I colored some of Brian Payne's work for was it Darkest Image, I think, or something like that. And he knew I was looking for work, and he was a Big Bang fan, and so he told me to get in touch with Gary Carlson, and so I randomly got in touch with Gary Carlson and said, I was looking for something to draw or whatever, and we got to like the script stage, and it wasn't gelling for whatever reason, but I was like hell bent, like I was going to make this work somehow with him. You know what I mean? But it sort of went by the wayside. And then I started doing my show and I started interviewing people. And he was definitely somebody I wanted to interview. I knew he would have like a lot of cool stuff to say, and he has such a great history. And as I'm sitting there interviewing him, he's telling me the history of Big Bang Comics and Megaton, how they were like pretty much annuals, like anthologies and 64 pages. And I'm like, oh, I like that, a Big Bang anthology. And then he said they never did a Kickstarter. And then he said they're only, they publish through Indie Planet. So it's like print on demand.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just like, this is all hitting me like a machine gun as I'm talking to him. And I'm just like not the fully fledged idea, but I'm just like, there's got to be something more here for these guys. You know what I mean? I'm like, they have this great wealth of characters, and they're pretty much like relegated to working with people on a volunteer basis because they're at the point where print on demand, they're not making any money. So Gary famously paid his artists back in the day, which was rare at the time, a measly $20 a page, but this is like the early 80s. So the gesture, I feel, was the most important thing about that. So then after talking to him and then just looking at some of the projects that have come out from our community, one of my favorite publishers and favorite people, Eli Schwab, the amazing Eli Schwab from Cosmic Lion Productions, has done a lot of great things for the indie comics community. He's totally blowing up. I was just like, I loved his Ghost Agents, particularly when they switched to the treasury size
Oh
format
yeah.
on
Yeah, me too.
newspaper. So I was like, okay, I want to do a Big Bang book. I want to do it like Ghost Agents, created by Rocco Jerome. He also, his mantra was wanting to pay the artists as well, hence the Kickstarter. And so I thought, wow, this is like a really great model, and it would really work well with Big Bang because it's like ties into their roots with an anthology. They've never done a Kickstarter. I knew it had to be special. So I thought, a big format. I love treasury sized editions. I'm like, Jim Rugg helped turn me on to that. And so I went to Eli and was like, told him what I wanted to do. And he was excited about it. And then I went to Gary and told him what I wanted to do. And he said, okay, for whatever reason. And here we are. So I just started my talent hunt, and like I said, I knew it had to be special, so I wanted to have like a really great cover. And who else but Jim Rugg could do the cover? Like, he's such an amazing cover artist. Luckily I had interviewed him for my show and we were quasi friendly, and I just sort of explained to him why he had to do it, and he thought about it, and he did it, and it's amazing. Like, there's a lot of great things about this book, as far creatively satisfying, like from an editorial standpoint, because Jim like really enjoyed working on it. he told me because, it gave him a chance to do superheroes, something he rarely does, which
Right.
was weird to me because I'm like, oh, you just did like work for Marvel. What the hell? But then he did the Hulk. So, and as we said, like the Hulk isn't a superhero, he's a monster. So, and then Jim came up with a great concept to do like baseball card sort of images collage, and it looks great.
It
Like it
does.
fits into the nostalgia angle of the Big Bang, and we're turning them into a trading card set as an incentive for the Kickstarter. So that's super exciting. And then Sam J. Royale was like, you should ask Carrie Callan. And I was like, who? And so I looked him up and I was like, oh my God, I totally know who Carrie Callan is. I feel like Carrie Callan is one of those artists. If you don't know his name, you know his art. Like famous, one of his most famous images is Wonder Woman opening her shirt like Superman, but she has a bra on underneath. Like, I don't
Okay.
know if you,
I haven't seen that.
it's amazing.
Okay.
He's worked for Mad Magazine and he does a lot of satire of like the golden age superheroes. Like he'll change like the cover to Action Comics 1 or something slightly. And he has like this really sort of quirky sense of humor. But his style is so dead on with the golden age. And so I got him to do our Chase cover. I thought, in typical I mean, I mean, how can you not have a second cover, right? I
Of
don't know.
course.
It seemed like a good idea. So he said yes, and he's also doing a 2-page Dr. Weird story. And that was another coup for me because I had no idea, but Gary Carlson was a huge fan of him. He had been wanting to work with him for years and was beyond thrilled to see the Big Bang characters drawn by Carrie Callan on our amazing cover, which looks so good by him too. I also wanted, like, I thought, this book is going to have a centerfold, whether it has a centerfold or not. So I should take advantage of that format. And then I got Nick Cagnetti, who I had just like, this is what I told somebody. If you want to like get a lot of great talent on your comic book, you have to have a YouTube channel because a lot of people I interviewed actually got on the book. So I was happy to have that. So I got Nick Cagnetti, who was like on fire in the indie scene. His
He's
great
so good.
Pink
He is so
Lemonade trade paperback just came out. He did a great short story and a really cool anthology for Oni called Xeno. And he's been previewing some really cool art on his socials that looks really good. So I gave him the tiniest little thumbnail. See, that's the other benefit I feel of like being an artist. It's like, I've been able to like shorthand a lot of things and really fast track this book. We basically have pulled it together in like 3 months. And I had to put out of my mind that that was an impossible goal. You know what I mean? Because otherwise it would have never happened. But I didn't want to birth an elephant. You know what I mean? I know these things can like, I see a lot of fan projects sort of get announced and people put a lot of work into them and then they just languish for years and, people waste their time. And I certainly didn't want that to happen. You know what I mean? It's like Gary Carlson has been so generous. Everything has been approved by him. Like I sent him thumbnails. I like I can't even imagine how much space in his messenger I've taken up. It'll be like, I want to do this character. I want to do this character. Does this make sense? Does that make sense? And like he'll instantly know if it works. He knows what's right and wrong. And if something's wrong, he knows how to fix it. So he's been my Jiminy Cricket on my shoulder. His partner Chris Acker has been amazing. Chris wrote a 3-page story that's being illustrated by one of our artists, Stephen Wilcox, that looks so cool. And he supplied some layouts for that because Chris is an amazing artist as well. And he's been very supportive, supplying some really fun stuff for the Kickstarter campaign. They just found this vintage Night Watchman trading card that is so cool and so exclusive, signed by Gary and Chris themselves. There's a pinup going in the book that I colored. I've also colored a lot of the book too, which has been fun. So it's like, I want to sleep with this book when it comes out. Like I'm so in love with it. I just feel like so connected to it. And I'm so proud of it. Like, I feel like I don't deserve how good it is. You know what I mean? like people, especially once people found out that Jim Rugg was doing our cover, they're like, oh shit, I have to bring my A game now. Not that they weren't going to before, but
Sure. No,
man,
I get it. You have to
man,
live
did
up to
they.
that. You have to live up to that name, of course. I mean, look, just from what I've seen so far, it's amazing. I think it's just so cool what you've done. I also was not very knowledgeable of Big Bang Comics until I talked to Gary. Like I knew of the Megaton stuff, like it, having like early Savage Dragon, early Rob Liefeld, all that kind of stuff. But I didn't really know much about Big Bang until talking to him. And then I checked out some of the stuff, and obviously there's so much out there still to check out. But I think that I knew about the book before it was announced because I live close to Eli. We're good friends. Like I hang out with him. And to not be able to, I wanted to reach out and ask you, but I'm like, I don't want to bug him until it's like announced. I'll wait till he says something, publicly. But you did it so quickly. And I think it's a testament to the hard work. Like that's hard work to corral talent like that. I think so. Like kudos to you, and to be able to like, not rest on your laurels because, like you said, like there are projects that are announced and sometimes they don't come out in a timely fashion. And especially when you have an original creator involved, you don't want to like be like, hey, can we do this thing and then let it languish? So I think you're doing a hell of a job, dude. And for everything I've seen, looks amazing. I can't wait to have that book in my hand.
Well, I apologize, but I'm gonna disappoint you right now because after talking to Jim, and Barry and Sam, and just like looking at certain things, we're not gonna do newsprint. It's still
Ah,
gonna be a
okay.
treasury size. The only reason is there's a slight bit of like transparency, like you can see through it a little bit,
Okay.
and but don't get me wrong, like like I don't think it like I think newsprint is 100% a bonus. I love ghost agents on newsprint. I think it looks fantastic. I personally like when I'm reading it, I don't see through it, but if you like really look for it, you can see it. So since my book is so art focused and just like I didn't want to, like I really want to just showcase the artist as best I can. So we decided that like maybe a whiter, thicker stock would be a
Are you
little
doing
bit
a
better.
matte or a
I
glossy?
think I'm gonna do matte. I'm not
Okay.
a
Well,
huge
to me,
fan of
I hate
glossy. The
glossy.
same thing. Yeah, I do too. Like I don't necessarily want glossy. I like the way the matte absorbs the ink and the color.
Looks
So,
cool for sure. Yeah.
yeah. So I had to just throw that out there. But other than that, it is still gonna be dope AF. So
Yeah.
don't worry about that.
Oh, I'm not worried. I mean, I like look, the talent that you have on here is just at least for me, and I'm sure other people like, to me it's like a who's who of like great indie talent. And I think this might be like the introduction for people to some of these artists and creators that they don't know. Like obviously we know because we're in the group and we've been buying their stuff for a long time, but to watch you got a good amount of backers on the Kickstarter. Like that's a lot of, to me, like I think it's nearing 240 or something, 250, right?
Is it? I know it's over 200 for sure, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, like, it's cool to see so many people come out and support the book, and you still got time on it. So there's plenty of new people that can jump on this Kickstarter. You mentioned too that, you guys are going to be announcing different add-ons, right? Leading to the end. Is there any you can talk about?
Like Eli is definitely handling the add-ons and working with like Chris and Gary. They announced some like yesterday and today. One is that trading card I was talking about, like the
Mhm.
exclusive vintage long lost Night Watchman trading card. There's like original art. I think there's a page actually inked by Don Simpson. I'm not sure who the artists are, but I want to say one might be gosh, I don't want to screw up his name, but it's just like one of the pages was like a pinup of Night Watchman that Chris Ecker did, that was inked by Jim Bozeman, who was a Dick Tracy artist. And it was actually part of a pitch for a Night Watchman movie, and I actually colored it. So the color version will be in the book, and as an add-on, you can buy the actual art. So I love that.
Very cool.
Evan Quiring is offering his original pages which is a cool exclusive because most of the artists on this book are working digitally. So the actual book itself, there's not going to be a ton of physical art, in the universe. So I'm happy to have that. So if you want a piece of the Big Bang, I mean, I think it's like $100 or something for a page of original art, and it's gorgeous. Like it's black and white, fully inked superhero art. And then I don't know. You're just gonna have to tune into the Kickstarter to see. Just follow that Kickstarter every day and add on, and just keep on adding on. Just
Yeah, no, I'm definitely keeping my eye. I know that I'm guessing the art is announced today then, because I know he said he was announcing something today.
yes,
Yeah.
I believe so.
Okay.
Yes,
As
yeah,
the day
that is.
recording. Yeah, I think it's so awesome to see people like supporting this book, and hopefully this leads to people checking out, the back catalog, because like you said, it is print on demand. They're not super expensive. You can get it all by going to I think it's bigbangcomics.com, right?
Well, that is bigbangcomics.com is their actual website, and I believe that you can. Gary has like a bunch of back issues that you can buy on the cheap. Like I know some of the artists on my book uh, went and bought some back issues for research. But also like the wealth of their publication catalog can be found on Indie Planet. So that's where you can go to catch up on Big Bang. Yeah, I know, because I really do hope, because what you're getting with my book, I wanted it to, have meat and not just be fluff. So there are actual stories, but I couldn't be beholden to like 40 years of continuity. So I had to make it sort of as innocuous and meaningful at the same time. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But I just wanted to give like great representations of the characters. So yeah, I am hoping that someone, will read Casey's story and be like, "Oh my God, this Beacon character is so cool. I need to go read Big Bang." And I'll admit too, like while I've been mostly a peripheral fan and aware somewhat of it, like just doing the research for this, I'm blown away, like how impressive it actually is. Like they're just fun comic books. They're like, if you grew up like reading the comic books that I grew up reading, then you're probably gonna love Big Bang. You know what I mean? It's like the comics that Gary and Chris loved reading. It's like those kind of comic books. So yeah, I encourage everyone to go to Indie Planet and check out all their back issues, because and tons of great art. Like I think a lot of people dismiss them as like a knockoff, because a lot of them, like they have Ultiman, who is similar to Superman. They have Night Watchman, who is similar to Batman. And while they may be sort of analog pastiches, they're done so cleverly and so like with such a great twist or spin that they're just like they totally stand on their own feet.
Yeah, totally. I love the designs, the covers that he does, where it's like an homage to older covers, like even the old trade dress and stuff like that. I think there's like a Plastic Man analog too. I can't
Oh,
remember the name, which I really love.
his name is Protoplasman,
Okay,
and
there we go.
he has an off the rails, like probably the craziest, most indie flavored story in the book. I'm doing with Jason Von Grimm Foster, and it is freaking amazing. Like it cracks me up. Like it is so funny. It is so good, and it's like I think it's going to be like one of the most talked about stories in the book.
Yeah, I can't wait, dude. I'm very excited. Now that the book's wrapped, right? For you, the book's all done. It's just ready to,
It,
right?
it is not actually. I'm still waiting for some art. I have to. I'm finishing the protoplasm story. I have my own story I need to finish. I'm waiting for some pages of art that I have to color. But I mean, I feel like we're probably at least 80% done. You know what I mean? Because I'm a fan of these things. I want to include a sketchbook and show a lot of the prelim work and the layouts and things like that. So that'll be a beefy section in the book. But Eli and I are actually starting to build it today. So later this afternoon. So I'm very excited about that. He said it's his favorite part of the process is building the book. And I think it will be a proud moment for me to see it actually, because it's like it's one thing having random art scattered all over the place. It's another thing to see it come together and your vision be realized. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I definitely think great decision to go with Eli because he knows how to put a book together, man. And it's, I'm not just saying that because we're friends. I've watched him grow, like just in terms of like I remember when I met him right before Wizard One came out, and just the projects that have come out since then, and he just gets better and better. It's been cool to watch, and I'm really glad you guys teamed up to do this book.
Yeah, I didn't want to do it with anyone else but him. I knew I wanted him. And of course my brazen approach is I want to help put Cosmic Lion on the map. I just think they're so great. And I feel like it's such a high exposure book for them that I feel like I hope it will elevate them in a way because they definitely deserve it.
Yeah, no, definitely gonna help get some more eyes on that. So before we wrap up, is there anything else that you're working on? You got any plans for the next project? Or are you gonna be just firmly steeped in this? Any ideas, maybe even for something?
It's funny because creatively, it's like I have worked hard on this. This has come together all at once. It has been my laser focus. But as a creative person, you can't help but be inspired by other things. I have a possible project with Dan Shaheen that I hopefully might be able to announce soon. I would love to do like a Big Big Bang part two if interest and warrants. I mean, we successfully funded, so I guess there's enough interest that the possibility of a second one. I think the second one could be even bigger. It could be The Empire Strikes Back because I feel like people once people find out about this project, they get super excited about it. So that's why I keep telling people like you don't want to sleep on it, you don't want to miss it because I do think it is that special. So I hope once it's out in the universe and people see how great it is. I mean, I hope it opens the door for me to, for other great projects. I would love to do this kind of thing, at like a bigger publisher or something, and have them throw real money at me or something like that. But other than that, I kind of would like to do like maybe a smaller, like more personal project. As fun as it is wrangling a bunch of artists, it's also kind of exhausting. So it'd be kind of nice to just have like a smaller, quieter project to just sort of cleanse my palate, I guess.
For sure. Well, I had a blast talking with you about it. I'm super stoked for the book. Everybody listening, watching, make sure you click the link below. I'm going to drop it for the Kickstarter. As of the day that this will drop, there's 8 days left on the campaign. So get out there, support the book. And Michael, before I let you go, do you want to share with everybody where they can find you on social media? And I'll drop all those links down below as well.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ryan. I super appreciate that. Of course, the best place to find me is on my YouTube channel, Michael Fitzgerald Troy TV. I do comic flip throughs. I have an amazing collection of comics from the 80s, 90s, Zods that I enthusiastically review. I do interviews and all kinds of fun positive comic content, just like you, Ryan. So other than that, definitely check out the channel for updates on the Kickstarter. Please fund the or please pledge to the Kickstarter. You're totally going to want this gorgeous book. And I think that's it. Thanks, Ryan.
Yeah, dude, my pleasure. We'll do this again soon.
All right. Thank you.